Well, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And with me is my guest, Krys Copeland, joining us from the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you.
It's good to have you again. As you know, most every Wednesday, Krys is our guest, and we talk about what's going on at Corellian Publishing. And that's what we'll be doing today. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments into whatever platform you're watching on. They will show up here in my chat room, and we can talk to you directly. And today will be a welcome relief, I imagine, from the political subjects of the last few days. Um, but it has been an interesting and perhaps necessary conversation. I am still interested in hearing people's suggestions for what they would like to see me talk about in the future. Um, so if you have any suggestions, feel free to make them. Otherwise, feel free to enjoy our little talk about Corellian publishing. Krys, how are you this week?
I'm doing well. Yes, I'm prepping for my vacation. So, for the next 3 Wednesdays, I will not be available for our normal conversations, but I look forward to rejoining in August when I return the first week of August. Uh, so, yeah, just looking forward to resting for a couple of weeks. We're going to a farm in France and camping there, and horseback riding, and going to see the gardens that inspired Monet.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's going to be a very fun trip, and to a part of France I haven't been to before, Normandy.
very good. We want to say hello to Mary Cavalcante in the chat room. It's good to see you, Mary.
Good to see you, Mary. Yeah, it's been very helpful rereading Travel Magic for this particular trip. I'm becoming a lot more conscious of the travel choices that I'm making, what is most beneficial for the environment, what helps out local economies in the places that I visit, and that book was really very helpful for laying that out from a spiritual perspective. Why as pagans, we need to be mindful of these practices as we travel. So, lots of amazing tips there from Travel Magic.
Very cool. And if you're interested in having a copy of Travel Magic, you can order it directly from us at CorellianPublishing.com, or you can find it on Amazon.
Yes. And over the next few weeks, we already have prepped our social media content, and we're moving to a lot more videos. So, videos with informative little tips and tricks and spells and things like that to just help your daily practice, your daily spiritual practices, and talking about putting together rituals or tips for connecting with your spirit guides or with nature spirits. So be taking a look on our social media for that over the next several weeks for those short videos.
We want to say hello to Janet Winston in the chat room and to Renee Bauta in the chat room.
Hi, Janet. Hi, Renee. Good to see you in the chat again.
And Mary says, Travel Magic, great book. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate that. I was the editor on that book, and it was the first book that I edited specifically for Corellian Publishing. So it was a very fun project to work on, and I learned a lot from Lisa about traveling ethically as a pagan, or traveling with consciousness in our choices. So excellent read.
So, what do we have to talk about today?
Well, we have a few different things coming up. Currently, we're working on Court of the Five Tribes by Laura Enright, and she's quite an accomplished author in her own right. She's published a couple of vampire romance novels, so check
Mm-hmm.
those out on Amazon. You can just find her listings there, Laura Enright. Also, a great one to keep an eye out for is her top 10 vampires of
Yeah,
Chicago, which was such a cool little book. And there's also top 10 true crimes of Chicago.
I
Uh,
believe there are a number of top tens that she's done,
yeah, those were,
including one on top 10 sites in Chicago. which includes a reference to our center there that hasn't been there for 20 years. But at the time that she wrote the book, it was. And we've known Laura for, I think, over 30 years, very, very long time. And yes, she's a fascinating writer. And I think people will really love her new book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really kind of a breeze for editing for it because it comes in already very polished off and ready to go. And she's just such a talented writer with the way that she's able to kind of craft a scene detail by detail, um,
Mhm.
and really flesh out characters through their actions, through their expressions, including several of the characters in this book are dragon characters, so being able to do that not just with her human characters but also with her non-human characters, it's quite fascinating, just from a writer's perspective to understand how that's crafted within a fantasy novel.
Yes, indeed.
And we're working on some new artwork for her book, so I'll show you currently what we have for her book. Let me just share my screen here. There we go. And yeah, I have here
Oh,
her books. Yes, right here.
I think you need to hit it again.
Um, let's try it one more time.
I think we both hit the share screen button at the same time.
Oh, okay, okay. We've got it there. Yeah,
Okay.
so here's her current artwork, which is actually it's very beautiful, but it's a bit dark, so it's hard
Mhm.
to really see the details in it very clearly. So we're considering what can be done to lighten this up and to kind of freshen it up from this is artwork that she had custom made a couple of years ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can come up with this as the basis for that design. But as you can see on the cover, this is about 5 different dragon tribes, as well as their interactions and conflicts and collaborations with humans throughout her world as well. There's also a map that will be included in the or in the final book itself that will map out this region, which is loosely based on Chinese mythology and
Mm.
Chinese culture, but very loosely, more of an inspiration than an exact replica. But yeah, that's basically what we're working with on Court of the Five Tribes. It's been quite fascinating going into the human areas after first starting with a look at the dragon areas, and she kind of bounces back and forth between different groups and different scenes throughout the book. So it's going to be quite an interesting read. Absolutely.
Very good.
And in addition to Sarah's book, Sarah is another one of our authors that has joined our team. And Sarah is publishing the ritual um, recipe starter deck. We already have several pre-orders in for that, so if you're interested in getting yours, go ahead and get your pre-order in as quickly as you can. We are expecting to publish on August 1st. That is our hope. We think that we will be able to have those printed right around August 1st, and then mailed out and received by those who have pre-ordered within a few weeks after that. So very exciting with this one as well, because it includes a starter deck basically of these cards that you can just hand out to people who are attending your ritual, and they will immediately have what they need to say during their part. So you can also mix and match different decks that will be coming out. We've discussed releasing a Fae deck next, where it will be focused on Fae magic and Fae rituals. So that should be quite interesting too. And if you're interested in creating your own ritual recipe booster deck with us and with Sarah, please contact us at corellian.publishing@gmail.com. We'll be happy to work with you to create the concept that you're wanting, to create the content that you would like to see within the cards, and to have that published for you as part of this ritual recipe deck, and including these expansion packs.
Very cool.
And in addition to this, we've also are getting really close to our Tarot of Hecate minimum of 10 orders. So if you're looking to get yours, we're probably going to be placing this within the next week or two. So make sure you get your order in before then, because it may be a little while before we bring this deck back in the future. And Rev Don, could you tell us just a little bit about the deck itself and how it has been kind of reviving this from the last time we published?
Well, the original Tarot of Hecate comes from the 1980s. And it was originally designed as a black and white deck. And if you look at the artwork, you can kind of still see that, especially in many of the major arcana, really throughout the deck. They have a very strong black and white quality, even with the color. We brought them out for the first time about 20 years ago, give or take a little bit. And well, I guess, well, yeah, about 20 years ago. And at that time, we decided to go ahead and make it a color deck because technology had changed so much, it was no longer so difficult to do that. Back in the 80s, bringing out a deck of cards was very difficult. And the original publisher wanted to start it as a black and white deck because it was much more affordable. When we did bring it out, we were able to make it a color deck. It is a 100 card tarot deck, and so a bit different from an ordinary tarot deck. And yeah, we first brought it out about 20 years ago using a local publisher who I believe no longer exists. But they were able to do it at a price that we could manage. We now have them printed overseas, and that requires generally a somewhat larger order. We have been able to arrange to bring them out in smaller sums, which is what we're doing now. And so if you want to be part of that first one, it will be several weeks from the time we place the order until they arrive, because it's dependent both on the amount of time it takes them to produce it and the amount of time it takes to get here. But as soon as we get them, we will send them out to you. And it should be, not more than a few weeks from start to finish. And again, we will probably be making that order within the next week. So if you want to get in on it, now is the time.
Absolutely. And it's been very exciting seeing all the excitement and interest from our community over this, bringing back this deck. I have to say the art style itself, it reminds me of like Thundercats from the 1980s, the old
Okay.
Thundercats cartoon. I get a lot of vibes of that, especially with this particular picture right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Thundercats was just one of my favorite cartoons from back then.
Oh, good.
Yeah. In addition to these products that we've been talking about, the Court of Fight Tribes, we're currently editing through that. I will continue working on that while I'm in France, along with another book that we're hoping to publish on August, around the end of August.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well. We seem to have lost Krys. Presumably she'll be back in a moment. But yeah, I mean, we're continuing to bring out a lot of new and interesting titles. And we want to say hello to Steve in the chat room. It's good to see you, Steve. Again, I think, and Krys has returned. And there she is.
Hello. All right. So my my internet just went down completely, and I had to relaunch. But luckily, it saved everything. Yeah. So I think I was talking about our new book from Circles in, which is called Circles in
Hmm.
Academy. Let me share my screen here. For that. So, Circles in Academy is a book from a new author. This is her first book, Autumn Stoneflower, who is a pagan teacher and a pagan mother. And she has written this book for, generally speaking, middle grade ages, so between 11 and 13 or so, maybe 10 and 13. And it's about these four girls who are attending a Wiccan boarding school called Circles in Academy. The main girl, Cordelia, you see the book mostly from her point of view, and she's adjusting to life at this very new and a little strange Wiccan boarding school. She was raised Christian as a Southern Baptist in Alabama, and now she's going to a Wiccan boarding school in upstate New York. So it's quite a different experience for her. But the reason that she's attending this school is because she is trans, and she had a pretty bad experience at her Christian school that she had been to before this. And of course, the Wiccan Academy was quite open and accepting towards her. So there's a lot of teaching moments throughout the book where we learn what it's like for Wiccan children to be out in the open and in public, even in a somewhat safer area like New York. But also what kids who are trans go through, and some of the overlap in the experiences with bullying, that both segments of children go through. I think every pagan in our audience today has probably experienced something like bullying at some point in their life, simply due to being pagan, and or maybe some other conceived otherness from other people, or maybe as children from other children. And this book does a great job of just taking those experiences and making them real, and also helping the kids to learn from those experiences, even the negative ones, and grow from them anyway. So it's quite beautifully written as well. One of my favorites to work with.
Very good. We want to say hello to Janet in the chat room. Janet Gann. It's good to see you, Janet.
Hi, Janet. Good to see you. And I think I see Steve as well. Good to see you, Steve. All right. So, yeah, these are what we have currently going on. I'm really excited about these projects. It's been really fulfilling to start expanding our children's book section, as well as our fantasy collection. So, our fantasy fiction collection, with Laura Enright's book, and with Autumn Stoneflowers for the children's section. So yeah, that's the things that we have going on right now. I'm a little curious because I have some questions for our audience today. Since we are wrapping up the orders on the Tarot of Hecate, we're looking at which decks to bring back next. And we have a few that are still in stock at the moment. I'll bring those up to show you what we have currently in stock, and what is currently out of stock that we are considering bringing back. And maybe you in the audience can give us an idea of what you would be most interested in seeing.
And hello to Arlene in the chat room. Good to see you, Arlene.
Good to see you, Arlene. And here we can see that we have the Muse cards still available.
No, do we?
It says to be discontinued, but we still have them available in the to add to cart. Do we need to change that? Are we sold out of these?
I'll have to check, but I thought when you were looking at the page that it was one of the ones that was yeah. I mean, it appears to be not in full color there, which I think means that, Or maybe it's just that your cursor was over it.
Yeah, just that my cursor was
Okay.
right there. Yes. So this one, I think we still have a few, but we should definitely check the inventory on
Yeah.
that just to make sure
If we have a
we
few,
are
we
ready.
have very few.
Yes. So go ahead and place your orders for these if you're interested in those before we run out of stock. Another one that's almost out of stock as well are the rune cards.
Hmm.
We have just a few of those left as well. So yeah, these are very useful for kind of mixing into your tarot deck and having a different method of interpretation
Hmm.
added into the tarot mix there.
Yeah, or you can use them on their own, just as a card form of rune reading.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how the art styles are all quite similar throughout the Infinite Tarot. It's nice to see how everything goes together. One that is also running out of stock right now is the Xingqiao
Hmm.
deck. And really beautiful. I love the pops of the red and the green and the gold. Absolutely perfect for Chinese zodiac. The Chinese zodiac is what we're actually exploring throughout the weekly spell this summer. So if you're interested in subscribing to our free weekly newsletter, you can do that at CorellianPublishing.com and scroll to the bottom. Just add your email address, and every Sunday, I believe at midnight, it sends out a our newsletter, and we are exploring the Chinese zodiac right now through it. So excellent time to start subscribing to that and getting those little free tidbits of information every week in your inbox. In addition to the Xinjiao deck, we also have a couple of decks that are not in stock right now. So we have the numerology cards,
Hmm.
which you'll recognize this artwork if you have purchased the Rev Don's book of numerology. It's the same artwork that we used in the book itself. Uh,
Some of the artwork that you'll find in the book.
yes, there are even more than this in the book, but these are definitely in there too. And beautiful stained glass style here that I really love. In addition to
Thank you.
the numerology cards, we also have now this one is the one that sold out. So if you're interested in numerology cards, let us know in the chat, because this is one that we are considering bringing back out. Then we also have the Suit of Witches. Could you tell us a little bit about the Suit of Witches? So we've expanded the Tarot of Hecate with the Suit of Lambs. What are the Suit of Witches all about?
Well, it uses the theme of the, for want of a better way to put it, the Halloween witch, the traditional witch, and it deals with interpretation through the different pictures, different ways of interpreting them in a magical manner. And I noticed that in the chat room, Janet was saying this was the deck she would like to see brought back.
Oh, great.
And yeah, I was pleased with the artwork. It's a few of them took a little longer to finally get right than others, but I years ago I had done. Oh, and Leo also would like to see the Suit of Witches, and Arlene is asking for the Ancestor deck.
Oh, yes, we don't even have that on our website right now. We should definitely check into that one.
But the Suit of Witches, for many years, I've done this kind of cartoony witch figure, and we thought that would be an interesting one when we did the fundraiser to first bring out the Infinite Tarot. This was one of the things we created originally, I believe, for that purpose, and you can see that each of them has a certain number of items. And the interpretation is based in part on those items, in part on the numerology. Um, and there you go. And of course, the most interesting from my point of view are the illustrations themselves.
Absolutely. I'm noticing the details here about with the different animals in each
Hmm.
scene, representing the total number, like 7 frogs or 3 crows or 8 cats.
Yeah.
And I love that there are these kind of representations of just while it lays into that kind of Halloween theme of the witch, it also shows just kind of women who are living their best lives.
Hmm.
And these are doing things that often are judged by those from a more traditional society or traditional religion background. And how, like it's just this woman living in her cabin in the woods with all her cats, or it's the lady that likes to feed the crows at the park,
Hmm.
or someone who likes to cook, and has different various woodland animals for her friend.
Well,
Her friend.
it's Cinderella after 50.
Yes, exactly. And this lovely
She
old
still
lady
has
that's
all of the lovely woodland friends.
yes, and this lovely old lady that lives in her castle with her beautiful library and sits around reading books all day with her many many bats. I just love that concept.
Well, part of the idea was to take that kind of witch stereotype, but in a friendly sort of way. And I find that for a lot of our people, it's actually a stereotype they're quite comfortable with as long as it's in a friendly sort of way. Sometimes even when it isn't, um, it is immediately recognizable. And when you come down to it, it's really just the 17th century for the most part. But the 17th century is remarkably relevant to the present era, nonetheless, despite how much time has gone by.
Yeah.
Now, Leo also joins Arlene in saying the ancestor deck sounds pretty good too. And I don't think we've got any photos of it we can easily put up. But
Possibly. Let's take a look here. No, I don't have the ancestor deck on the site right now, I
yeah.
believe. So we'll take a look for that and make sure we get it put back up. So it may still say sold out for a long time, but we will look for the ancestor deck and get it back on there. So at least everyone can see the artwork from it, or some of the artwork.
Hmm.
Yes. Um, we also have this 22 Major Arcana expansion deck, which I believe is specifically just the 22 cards from
Hmm.
the 100 card Tarot of Hecate deck.
Well,
Is
that is the Tarot of Hecate Major Arcana reworked to be a standard Major Arcana. So the additional cards are taken out and the numerology is changed accordingly.
yes, and here you
So
can
if you
see.
wanted to use your Tarot of Hecate as an ordinary tarot, you could use this edition to do so. Because of course, all the extra cards that are added to that Major Arcana change the numerology of most of the deck, most of the Major Arcana, and to my mind, it changes it for the better. But not everyone would necessarily agree with that, and it's not the familiar numerology. So some people might prefer this version.
Absolutely. It's great to play around with different decks and see, which ones speak to you. And one thing that when I was back in my tarot book or tarot deck collection heyday and had like 20 or more different decks at a time, if I realized I wasn't really using a deck or connecting with the deck
Hmm.
that I previously bought to try out, I would often give those away as gifts to new people I met in the
Hmm.
community, or those who were just starting out with tarot. Oftentimes, I'll pick up a deck and I don't realize until weeks or months later that it was never really meant for me. I was just
Hmm.
holding on to it because someone I was going to run into would be the right person for that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing, years ago, we would use broken decks for craft projects, things like Yule cards or as ornament for things like tarot boxes, and that can be quite interesting to do
Yes, that's
because,
something
of
I'm
course, the artwork is always interesting on pretty much every tarot deck. So with that, we've come to the end of our half hour. Thank you, Krys. I
Thank
hope you
you.
enjoy your vacation.
Yes, I will. Yes.
And if you're interested in any of the things we've talked about, you can find them at CorellianPublishing.com. And I will be back tomorrow. Krys will be back in August. And we hope you have a lovely day. And let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we pray that we shall go forward together with you hand in hand for many years to come. And we ask you to bring us many fascinating things in our lives, whether books or cards or ideas or videos, whatever form they may take. Bring us the things that will expand our minds and our consciousness, the things that will bring joy to our hearts, that we may more greatly enjoy our lives and more easily learn our lessons. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and thanks, and knowing you are always with us, still from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed now and always, and we'll see you soon.